Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video we'll be looking at the Python if statements. Okay, so we've actually seen how you will do some couple of things in Python, both reading input, managing string, the data type. Now we're now going to start making our code very interactive. Okay, so what if you want your code to perform some functions or some operations that are condition dependent? So you do that with the if statement. So if is a condition statement. Okay, so let's hop down to see what we have. So there are different conditional and logics in Python, so we call them logical conditions. Okay, so that is we have the equals to. So this is asking if this is equals to this. All right, so this is equals to. And the equals logical condition, you don't use only one equal, you use the two equals, meaning this is equal to. If it is one equal to, then it is assignment. It's trying to assign the value b to a. But when it has double equals to, is a condition statement. Then not equal to, you now have this sign not equals to. This is the not sign. Okay, now this is a less than b. This is a less than or equals to b. So here it's talking about if a is less than or equals to b. So it's having two conditions in one now. So it can actually only be true when a is less than or equals to b. All right, then here we have the greater than and then the greater than or equals to b. So these conditions are used in several ways in the if statement. So the if statement is used to execute a block of code only if the condition is true. All right, so the if statement will be used to execute a particular block of code only when the condition that are stated there are true. So this is the block diagram of the if statement. Let's watch happens here. If your code, remember your code is executed line by line, and it goes to a line which is the condition. Okay, and it's meant to execute this condition, which says if the condition is true, then what it will do, it will now come and execute what we call the condition code. So after executing the condition code, it now continues the code execution. But if the condition is false, it jumps this condition code and continues the code execution. This is just the simplest way that the if statement works. So let's hop over the spider ID. Let's try to do something. Okay, so let's say I have two numbers here. So let's say I have two numbers here. I have the a is equals to, let's say, 60, and my b is equals to, let's say, 65. So and I want to make a condition saying if a is greater than b. So I can easily say if a is greater than b, then I'm going to have this column. So and when we come to this new line, you will see this indentation. This is the syntax for if statement. So anything under this indentation is now the block of code that is supposed to be executed when this if statement is true. So what I want it to do is to print a is greater. So print a comma is a is greater. Okay, sorry. A is a is a is greater than b. All right, so I want it to print something like this on the console. And if I want to continue my code, I'm just going to exit from this indentation. So other codes that I write here will get executed after this if block. So they are not a member of each block. So to prove that, I can also have a line of code here. So I will say exiting. All right, so let's now see what happens here. So we'll have that a is 60 and b is 65. So let's run this code and we'll see that only exiting executed. Why did only exiting executed? This code was not able to come here because a is 65 and b is 60. And look at what happens here now. Okay, to check if a is greater than b. So looking at this number, a is not greater than b, so this condition returns false. And once it is false, this block of code here will never get executed. It's going to jump it and execute whatever that comes later. But what if it is true? Let's say we have 55. Let's make this condition true. Okay. You now say that 60 is greater was executed before the code continues execution. So the if statement has a condition. So once the condition is met, okay, once the condition returns a true, the condition block is executed, and after executing it, the code now returns to normal execution. But if the condition is false, it jumps the condition block and continues the code execution. So this is if statement for you. So this is just the simplest way that the if statement works. So I can have this a multiple of line. I can have multiple if statements here. I can have another if statement here. I can have another if statement here. I say if A is equals to B. So I can have and I say print A is equal A is equal to B. All right. So and so I can have multiple if statement just like this now. So this is the how if statement work. Now, what if I just don't want this line of code to keep executing serially? I'll talk about adding an else. Okay, if it is not this, then what about this? Okay, so let's see the else statement. So we can include an else statement. Now look at how the else statement works. This is the flow diagram. So the code keeps executing when it comes to the condition. If the condition is true, then the condition code is executed. Then if it is false, it will now have an else code. Okay, now this else code will be executed before it leaves the code execution. So this is how we can actually do it. I can remove this. So we have two numbers here. If A is not greater than B, that means A is less than B. Are you with me? So I can have the else. I can have else here. And inside this else, I will now have this print statement. Let me copy this. So I will now have A is less than B. Okay. So if A is not greater than B, then A is less than B. So let's make this 65 now. And let's run this code. You see that 60 is less than 65 was executed because A was less than B. So what happened there is this first condition was not met, then it executes the else before it leaves the code. So you can actually have an else statement, okay, so that if the condition is not met, then it should have an else that it should execute. So you are doing like if it is not this, then it should be this. It should not just leave the code like that. So these are different ways you can use it. Then we'll now have another one. So when you now have, you want to have multiple if statements with an else, okay? So it is called if elif else statement. I'll show us how it works. So this is how it works. We have the first condition. If the condition is true, then the condition statement is executed. And after executing it, leaves the code. But if the first condition is not true, it should check the second condition. All right. Now, if the second condition is not true, then it should check the third condition. And after checking the third condition, it should have an else. If the third condition is not true, if it is false, then it should have an else for all the statements. So let's see how this thing works. So let's say I have some numbers, okay, and I want to run an if else statement on them. All right, let's say I have a string. Let's say name is equals to Felix. All right, then I have multiple names, so I'm trying to check whose name actually came up. Okay, I want to check whose name actually came up. So let me take this one down. I want to check whose name actually came up. So I can say if name is equals to um, Nkechi, then I can say print the name is Nkechi. All right. Now I can now check another condition. I can now say if name equals to Nkechi. Sorry, not Nkechi. I want to check probably Nneka. I'll now have print name is Nneka. Okay. So I can have another else if name equal. Okay, let's have Felix here. I'll now say print name is Felix, and I can actually have an else here now. I'll now say else point. I can now say none of the name is available. I can say name not available. Okay, name not available. All right. So let me comment this out. Let me comment this line out. Then I will still have my exit in here. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Let's say I have a name in a database. I have a database of names. Okay. So and I have this name. I want to search whether this particular name is in that database. All right. So I have Nkechi is there, Nneka is there, and then Felix is there. So I can use this if elif statement to actually loop through them. This makes our code seamlessly easy so that once this condition is not met, you should check this condition. Now, once any condition is met here, it's not going to check the next one. It will leave the statement once. Okay. So what happens here? It checks if name is equals to Nkechi. If the name is not Nkechi, inside this block of code is where you execute everything related to Nkechi. So note that if you have multiple lines to execute, all of them should be indented like this. So if I have a new line, see all of them are still indented. So I can have multiple statements here. And once it leaves this indentation, then it will not see it under this if block of code again. So some other languages like the C++, the C language, the Java, they use the curly braces to create a block of code. But in Python, indentation is being used. So you need to be very careful while specifying your indentation. Okay, so if you did not specify the indentation correctly, some codes might actually not execute because it doesn't see them in to belong to a particular block. So you need to note that. All right, so if the name is Nkechi, this line of code is executed. If it is not Nkechi, it now checks is it the next name, which is Nneka. If not, it checks the next one. Then if it has searched the whole name, it can now execute the else, saying the name is not available in the database. So this is the easiest way you can actually use the if else statement. So let's try to execute this and see. So it tells us that the name is Felix, which is this. So let's put Nkechi here. So let's put Nkechi. So and name is Nkechi. So let's put a name that is not here. Let's call it Emeka. All right, Emeka is not here. So let's execute. You see what we have here, name not available. So it was able to search the whole database and there was no name. Then it tell you that this name is not available. That is the usefulness of this else. If all the conditions are not met, then something you should have an else to say, oh, none of the condition was what was met. So this is all about the Python if statement, the if else, and the if elif else. Okay. So in this elif, some other languages call it else if, but Python call it elif. So it means else if. So remember this syntax because that is the syntax being used in Python. So thank you very much for having me. And if you have any question, direct it to the comment section. In all you do, keep coding. See you in next video.